There are plenty of reasons to love the city of Palm Coast, whether it's because it was named the #1 retirement spot in the entire United States, or because it was the second safest city in the entire state of Florida, or maybe it's because it had the best tap water the last 3 years running. Plenty of reasons to love Palm Coast, but what I want to do in today's video is share 5 secrets that only the locals know about living here in Palm Coast. And you may want to watch this entire video before you pack your bags and decide to do so yourself. Now, St. Augustine is my main market that I focus on, but I really cover about an hour around where I live. So that covers Flagler, Duval County, and Putnam County. But I do a ton of business down in Flagler just because of the affordability, the amount of people that are retiring here, the amount of people that reach out to me because of these videos. So let's get into the #1 thing that you need to know about moving to Palm Coast and living there and how it's going to affect you and your personal situation. The #1 secret that you need to know about living in Palm Coast, and this is probably the most important one out of all of them because this really affects your daily life, is that the city of Palm Coast acts like a giant HOA. Now, of course, there are HOAs within the city of Palm Coast, but for the most part, most of the homes sit outside of an HOA and they're just within the city, but they're still under a whole bunch of regulations and ordinances that are put in place and enforced by the city of Palm Coast. There's a variety of things that the city of Palm Coast enforces, but the main things and the main sticking points for a lot of the locals are going to come down to like, hey, I can't paint the color of my house what I want to paint it. Palm Coast has like 8 colors that you're allowed to paint your house. Also, when it comes down to like what you can or can't park in your driveway, if you want to park a boat or an RV in your driveway, that's not really a thing that can happen in Palm Coast. They'll give you a grace period, typically 3 days. Like if you have an RV, you got to unload it and load it. Typically, they'll give you 3 days, but outside of that, you're not allowed to park that in front of your house. They'll also regulate like, hey, if your grass is getting a little too long, the city's going to send you a notice and like, hey, if you don't cut your grass over X amount of time, we're going to start fining you on a daily basis. And I'm going to give you a couple of stories here to show how extreme this is. And it's not a joke, right? This is happening every single day. It's a big gripe with a lot of the younger people in Palm Coast because it affects them directly. So I have a buddy who lives down in Palm Coast, and him and his wife have lived there for many, many years. He's an HVAC technician and he has a company truck. Now, he just started at that job, he just got the truck, and he started getting notices in the mail from the city of Palm Coast saying like, hey, you're not allowed to park this truck in your driveway. And that's because any commercial branding on a truck in your driveway in the city of Palm Coast is not allowed. And the city does, they do laps around the neighborhoods just to make sure that these codes and regulations are being enforced. But at the same time, your neighbors could also call the city and say like, hey, Tom Sawyer over here has got his plumbing truck outside and it's got all the commercial branding on it. He's not allowed to do that. Can you send him a notice? That is a reality of what happens in Palm Coast. You have some Karen and Kyles of the unofficial HOA of Palm Coast that will make the call on you and will have the city come out. And then if you don't make the correction within a certain amount of time, you could get a massive fine. They've since made a slight change to that rule to where like it can be like this big of your commercial branding on your truck. But in reality, that's not how commercial branding on vehicles works in today's world, and is it even worth it to have it? So many people, like my buyer, had to cover his truck with a white magnet just to make sure that like he was in compliance with what the city of Palm Coast wanted. Another scenario, and this is someone that I helped move there, he parked a boat behind his fence. He's like, you can't see it from the road. You don't know anything about it. The only way you would know is if you walked right up on my fence and you just peeked over, you could see my boat behind the fence line. It's a patio boat. It's pretty flat. It's not sitting above. You can't see it from the street. The neighbors can't see it. Either way, he got a notice on his door from the city of Palm Coast that says like, hey, you're not allowed to have your boat parked in the side yard where it's visible from the street. And if you don't move your boat, it's going to be a $5,000 a day fine. That's insanity, but that's one of the regulations that Palm Coast has. Now, he's since done some digging and he found out that as long as he parks his boat behind the last wall in his house, then he is able to park his boat on his property as long as it can't be seen from the street. So he's finagling the rules a little bit, but this is a reality of people living in Palm Coast every single day that you really have to consider and see if that's right for you and your family and your situation. Overall, the positive of that is that it keeps the neighborhood looking fresh and it keeps the neighborhood looking uniform. Yeah, you don't have people painting their houses crazy colors. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to avoid an HOA, this may be a little too much like an HOA for you to even consider Palm Coast, and probably St. Augustine or maybe Daytona might be the way you want to go. The second secret about living in Palm Coast that only the locals know, and I guess you would figure this out if you are looking to buy a home and you're talking to a lender and a reputable real estate agent, is that taxes in Palm Coast are much, much higher than the surrounding areas. And maybe that increase in taxes is so they can enforce all the rules and ordinances that they have for the city of Palm Coast, but I don't know. I don't make the rules here. I'm just giving you guys the information. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But regardless, it is a lot more expensive than its neighboring counties. If you take a look at St. Johns County, the majority of the taxes here are going to be about 1.4% of your purchase price. So if you're buying a $500,000 home, your taxes are roughly going to be around $7,000. If you go ahead and buy that $500,000 home in the city of Palm Coast, your taxes are going to be around like $9,500 a year for really not much more in incentive than what you would get in any other area in the state of Florida. Aside from that, they're going to enforce all these ordinances. So if you're looking for that, then it's great for you. You're going to end up spending an extra little bit of money, but you're also going to have more of a uniform neighborhood that's really, really well kept. But that's either a pro or a con. And also when it comes down to your annual expenses and your monthly expenses, it's going to put you a little bit higher than you would find maybe in Putnam County or in Volusia County just south. St. Johns County, our housing prices are more expensive, so there's not going to be much relief there. But you could find a cheaper house in St. Johns County and also find a cheaper tax zone where it's not going to cost you as much. Just to give you a quick example, I bought a new construction home, $300,000. I'm a mile from downtown St. Augustine, and my taxes are around $2,500 a year. Now, technically, based on my millage rate, my taxes should be higher. When you take a look at the county property appraiser, they do have a tax estimator. That typically comes in higher than what you normally see your tax bill come in at. But technically, my millage rate should be around 1.23, 1.26%. So if I take 300,000 times 1.26%, that's where you're going to see how much my taxes actually should be based on what they say online. But in reality, the estimate in reality, the good thing is that reality comes in a little bit lower. Overall, I'm not a person that advocates for higher taxes. I honestly want less government and I want less taxes. I don't think property taxes really should be a thing at all. The fact that we kind of rent our property from the government forever. But overall, it does keep the neighborhood a lot nicer. And in terms of a con, if you are on a fixed income, the taxes are going to be a little bit higher for you. So that's not exactly the best thing. And before we get on to the rest of the secrets of living here in Palm Coast, I did also want to plug in, I have some of the 5 negatives of living in Palm Coast that you got to know about as well. I'm going to put that video up here. But if you've gotten some value so far out of this video, I've given you a little bit of nugget of information you didn't know before, do me a solid and tap the subscribe button below. Like the video, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll answer it as soon as I can. Back to the secrets. And the third secret about living in the city of Palm Coast is that the water bill is increasing pretty significantly, and it just happened. Like this just happened within the past year. We're going to see some pretty big increases to that water bill year over year over year. And I think they have 2 increases of 8% this year, and then for the next 3 years, it's another 8% in October, another 8% in October, another 8% in October. So it's going to add a significant dollar amount to your annual spend of water and also your monthly spend of water. And Palm Coast isn't just raising it because they want to raise it. They've actually got an infraction from the State Department of Environmental Protection saying like, hey, you need to fix this water treatment system that you have already. You need to fix it, and you also need to expand it because of how many people are moving into the city of Palm Coast. Because as of right now, the system that we have, it's not cutting it. So overall, it should be a good thing, should lead to better water, should lead to more water availability for the people that are moving in. But it is going to cause a bit of pain in terms of your pocketbook. It's going to cost you more money. And just to give you an idea, based on a 4,000 gallon per month use, you're going to see an increase from about $91 a month to $119 a month by October of 2028. So when you put it in that reference, it's not a huge difference, but you see many people on the City of Palm Coast. Go on the City of Palm Coast Facebook page, go to the Facebook page of Palm Coast. You will see many people talking about and posting their water bills and being like, what's going on here? This is astronomical. My bill went from $170 a month to $220 a month this month. What's going on? And that's something that we're regularly seeing within the City of Palm Coast. And that's one thing to consider as well. Like if you have irrigation, you need to water your lawn, and we've had a drought. We had 2 months where there was no rain at all. You have to water your lawn unless you want it to die. So you gotta eat the bill essentially. You got to pay for it just to water your lawn. So maybe you get a well in the future. That's going to cost you about $3,000 to $4,000 to get a well installed, but over the long term, it will save you money. So they did a rate increase of April of 2025 of 8%. They're doing another one this year in October at 8%. And then for the following year in October, every single year up until 2028, they're going to do a 4% increase. Overall, it's going to represent about a 31 to 36% increase in the water bill over the next years up until 2028. So something you should 100% consider if you are looking to move to this area, and if you use it, you take a whole bunch of showers, you water your grass a whole bunch, it's going to cost you some money. The fourth secret that only the locals know about living in Palm Coast is that it is developing very rapidly. There is new construction everywhere you look within the city of Palm Coast, whether it's in a master plan community that has an HOA or it's on individual lots throughout the entire area of Palm Coast. And it's, of course, like we cover a whole bunch, it's a double-edged sword. There's good things about it and there's bad things about it. Some of the good things is that it's providing, good affordable housing for majority of people that are looking to move to the area. If we didn't build, the cost of housing in Palm Coast and northeastern Florida in general would go up faster than it has the past couple of years, which is obviously a huge problem and not sustainable long term. The other good news with that is that it's providing a whole bunch of jobs here locally for people, because really in Flagler County and in St. Johns County, the majority of jobs are provided in the hospitality industry. It's not really, the real estate industry. It's not really, the hospital industry. Most of it is going to be the hospitality industry, where they're going to be making around $60,000 a year. When we're talking about home prices in the 500,000s, really not sustainable for them to be able to purchase at any point with making that kind of money. And to tie into that, some of the cons of developing in the area is that, traffic is increasing, schools are being rezoned, and if you were a person that's owned a home there, more than likely you back to a green space that is a lot that could have been developed, or you had a lot to the side of you that separated you and your neighbor, so you at least felt like you had a little bit of elbow room. All of these infill lots are now being developed. And one of the side effects of that is that the building code of Palm Coast hasn't exactly caught up with what they need to do, because a lot of the homeowners that are right next to the new construction homes that are being put in, where they're developing the swales, they're doing the water runoff, a lot of the older homes are now getting water pushed up against their house or even flooding their houses because of how high they build some of these new homes in the area, and the rainwater runoff system that they put, the swale that they put around the home, is now directing water away from that new construction home but towards an older existing home, which is causing a whole bunch of problems. It's one of the biggest issues in Palm Coast today. Overall, I think the development in Palm Coast is a net positive for the entire area of Palm Coast, for the state of Florida. But there are some things that lead to the negatives, like I just covered here. But overall, the city of Palm Coast has a long way to go. We do need to see some more commercial, more dining options going in there, more of a entertainment nightlife. But we'll talk about that in the next secret. And the fifth secret that you need to know about living in Palm Coast is that when it comes down to dining and entertainment and nightlife, Palm Coast really doesn't have much of that at all. Is it starting to trickle in because they've had such an influx of people move there that want these options? 100%. But for the most part, Palm Coast was a pretty sleepy suburban residential area with strip malls, not strip malls, but strips along Palm Coast Parkway and Route 100 where all of your commercial space was. That has kind of led to Palm Coast being more or less of a quote unquote boring place to live. Where you're more or less, if you want to go have fun, you're going to commute to St. Augustine, which is going to be about 30 to 45 minutes from where you're at, or you're going to commute over to Flagler Beach, because that's where they have a lot of restaurants, dining, live music, all that kind of stuff in both of those areas. The city of Palm Coast itself doesn't have very many options there, but I will say over the past couple years, that has been another thing that people are like, hey, I moved here. What do you do with kids? What do you do for fun? What do you do for a single? All that kind of stuff has factored into people okay, hey, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to start a business and try to change this here in Palm Coast. And once again, it's a double-edged sword. You have people that are for it, against it. They just proposed a massive sports complex that would, attract, top level high school teams and everything, and collegiate level teams to the area to be able to train and use the facilities there. And A lot of people were for it, a lot of people were against it. It's now back on the drawing board to see if it'll happen. One, it'll bring jobs to the area, but two, it'll also bring more tourism here to the area too, which I think is a big thing that the city of Palm Coast needs. So that may seem like a big negative to not like have like a main street and a main area where you go eat and dine and have fun. But in reality, like you're close enough to all those things. If you want to go down to Flagler Beach, you're only, depending where you're living in Palm Coast, it's going to be about 30 to 40 minutes. If you want to go to St. Augustine and experience the downtown there and the dining and the entertainment, that's only about 30 to 45 minutes depending on where you live in Palm Coast. So you're close enough, but not too far away where it's a huge hassle to be able to go and enjoy those things. So you're kind of insulated, because not a whole bunch of people are like, hey, I'm going to go vacation down in Palm Coast. So when you have the tourism industry and the congestion that comes along with it, you're just far enough away to where you don't need to deal with it at all. And guys, that is it. Those are the 5 secrets that you need to know about living in Palm Coast before you decide to pack your bags and make a huge move across the country to live in Palm Coast. You got to know these things. And if you are looking to make the purchase, if you are looking to sell your home in Palm Coast, buy a home in Palm Coast, or invest, make sure you reach out to me and my team directly. All we try to do is give you the information so that you can make an educated decision on what you want to do, which is buy, sell, or invest here in Northeastern Florida. Until next time, guys.